Hello, everyone. Hello, Helen. Today we're here to talk all things sanctuary. Our guest today is Helen Joy Butler. I've been knowing Helen for quite a while, and she's a super beautiful human. She's an elemental space clearer and so much more. Helen, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Thank you, Sarah. It's so lovely to be here and to have you kindly sitting in your car having a conversation with me. So, yeah, I'm based in Brisbane in Australia, and Sarah and I met a number of years ago on retreat when Sarah lived in the same town, same city as me.
It was a long
I
time.
It seems like a very long time ago, Sarah. There's certainly been a lot of changes and shifts in that time, hasn't there? So I work as Sarah said, an elemental space clearer, but I'm also what I call a sanctuary creator. So I help people create sanctuary in their home, body, and life in practical, emotional, and spiritual ways. And I'm an ex-teacher, so a lot of the ways that I do that is through education, through writing, through podcast episodes, like all sorts of different ways to try and help people connect with what sanctuary means to them, because it's not here's Helen's, idea and making other people own it. It's not that at all. It's like creating your own recipe, your own sanctuary recipe. And I really firmly believe that sanctuary, it certainly was my conduit to spirituality and full ownership of those spiritual gifts that I have. So I really like to help people on that journey to owning their own spiritual gifts, whatever that looks like, kind of all under this beautiful banner of sanctuary.
That is so beautiful, Helen, because yeah, we see, especially with the internet and Facebook, you get all these ads and these things where there are all these formulas that make you rich, or they make you spirit, or they make you something. And I fell for it a few times, and then I was like, I think the formula, it has to be my own. And having this holistic but also individualized approach is not that common. I think when we use common sense, we think it is. And so it's so beautiful that you actually step in as a guide, not just to give step 1, 2, 3 ABC, and you'll be connected, you'll be spiritual. We know it doesn't work quite that way. Someone actually asked me, how do I what's a formula for me to channel specifically business ideas? uh, I don't know. Just lots of practice and start connecting, like.
Exactly. And I think that, I don't know whether it's, well, I think it's actually the evolution of particularly the time that we're living in and we've grown up in, because, from when I was, starting my work, in my 20s and moving through into my 30s, it was certainly that thing where that person's got it going on, they've got the formula, buy the formula, tick and flick their formula, and it will work for you. I mean, of course, it never did, but because of, that was kind of just the way it was. But now I really believe we're moving much more into this space of, and I'll call it sanctuary, because for me, it overarches everything. But it's also, how can I create sanctuary for myself with this knowledge that I have? Because I can read all the books and do all the courses and sign up for the thing. But eventually I'm the owner of, my space, my world, my experience, my life. And so for me and for the people I work with, it's all about kind of removing some of that noise and gifting you permission to own your own wisdom, your own expertise, your own truth, because we all have that. And once upon a time, I used to think, oh, well, I was a teacher and then I was a professional organizer and then I talked about sanctuary and then I'm an elemental space clearer. And it all felt disjointed for me. But I got to this stage of really owning my journey in the whole process and going, actually, all of these are a bit like a facet on a diamond.
Yeah.
All of these have come together to create this amazing thing called Helen out in the world, but from a real place of ownership and truth and groundedness and centeredness. So I think if we all look at our journey in that way and kind of go, well, I learned to do this, I learned to do that, and I learned to do these things, there's never a disconnect between them. There is either a common thread, or there's a way that you can bring it together to connect more with your truth and therefore what you're meant to be and do out in the world, that's the exciting bit, I reckon, once you bring it all together and you go, oh my gosh, this is it. I've got
Yeah.
it.
Yes, I love that. It speaks to me about being the creator of your own reality, your own life in your own little universe, and also that part of us that is connected. We are connected with the, if we talk entanglement or whatever, like we are one. And so there is always that excitement that your soul feels for something that may seem unrelated to anything else in your life, but then it comes a time when you're like, oh yeah, I get it now. Why, I don't know, 10 years ago I joined that course or I did that, and it all comes together at the end. It's like, sure, my soul felt cold. Like if we listen to our intuition, to our, that little nudge, it's like, yeah, do it, just do it. You don't know why, but just do it. There is always a common thread that your soul kind of feels cold to. And yeah, so beautiful. So Helen,
Thank you.
I know you speak a lot about sanctuary. You bring sanctuary in self-care. You bring sanctuary in our space, our environment at home, in our spirituality, in our way of being, in our lifestyle. Tell us a little bit more about this, and about, well, of course, it can be a many hours long conversation, but maybe just few tips, a few things we can do to simply to start with. Some people may
Yeah, yeah.
know what sanctuary means, or how to bring more of that into their own lives. So maybe a very simple place where to start.
Yeah. So the first thing you do need to do, as you've already kind of intimated, is what does sanctuary actually look and feel like to me? And the best way to do that is to look external to a place or the places you love to go, where you just feel held, you feel nurtured, you feel cocooned, you feel safe. So for me, years and years and years and years ago, when I went on this journey myself, that was a day spa that I went to. So my hairdresser was on ground level and you walked in, and then there's a set of stairs that went down to the day spa. And as you walked halfway down the stairs, there was muted lighting, you could smell candles, there was music coming, like greeting you as you walk down the stairs. And then there were beautiful chairs with cushions and herbal tea and lovely artwork on the wall. And you got to spend some time in that space before you then went in for your beauty treatment. So what I did was I said, what was it about that space I really loved? Now, yours might not be a day spa. It might be the trail that you walk on out in nature, or the beach that you go to, or maybe a friend's home, or, a beautiful boutique that you walk into as you're, going shopping, and it gives you that beautiful feeling. So the idea is to look externally to you and say, what is it about this space? And then start to bring that into your home. So that doesn't mean go shopping and buy
That's
stacks of
nice
stuff.
too.
That's fun to
Little bit of
do.
therapy.
But what that means is, like, if I look at that day spa and I go, okay, well, there was the chairs with the cushions. So maybe I come to my home and I go, well, the cushion cupboards are looking a bit dated, but I've got some really nice ones in the cupboard I haven't used for ages. So I'm going to switch those out. I'm going to move the furniture a bit. I'm going to bring more plants in. I'm going to burn a candle. I've got a candle burning now at my desk, but I might burn a candle when I'm cooking dinner. So it's how can I bring that into my home? And then this is the cool thing. This is what can take a little bit of time. Doing that into your home eventually brings it into your awareness, into your soul, into your body. And I talk about this from an infinity perspective, the infinity sign. So if I shift the external, I'm shifting the internal. So keep working and making those shifts outside of you. Can
Mhm.
even be around the clothes you wear or the way you wear your hair or the jewelry that you wear. So there's all this stuff outside of you, and then allow it to gently make these shifts and changes in you. That's probably the biggest, most important kind of place to start. Because if you know what sanctuary looks and feels like to you, you can start to make those shifts. Just be aware that over time that it will change. And probably, particularly if you use sanctuary as your conduit to your spiritual growth, it will become much more internal. A lot of people say to me, well, I'm looking for a new home. I need a new home. Where am I going to live? And I kind of go, how do you feel in this home, in this body? Because wherever this body is can feel home. Because then you'll know what you're looking for and what you need to support you, in four walls that are around you. The other thing to think about, so we talked about, that external thing. When I talk about sanctuary, I talk about it in three areas: your home, your body, and your life. And I talk about it in three aspects: your practical space, emotional, and spiritual. So if we put that on a piece of paper, it kind of looks like a 3x3 grid. We've got home, body, life, practical, emotional, spiritual. So you can really pick a box. What could I do in my home on an emotional level to make some changes? Or what can I do in my body on a physical level to make some changes as you step more closely toward whatever sanctuary looks and feels like for you? Never, ever, ever start with trying to create sanctuary in your life. Too hard. There's too many other players involved, like whether it's partners or children or work colleagues or family, community. Leave that for a little while. Work on creating sanctuary in your home first, then move to your body. And then what you'll see is that stuff will change anyway in your life and fall away.
I'm learning so much, I thought I knew all these things, but I love to start from the harder places. And so this is great. This is great to hear. Yes, I think this may be one of my life lessons because I move around so much.
Mm.
And so learning to make sanctuary within and here, it will bring sanctuary everywhere I go. And, sometimes I'm successful with this, sometimes.
And you know what? I'm the same, and that's okay. The amazing thing though is once we start on this sanctuary journey and eventually bring sanctuary into our being, other people will notice it and they'll kind of go, I want a bit of that. Like, how did she get that peaceful? How did she get that calm? Or why does she always show up in this way when everyone else is a bit frazzled or stressed?
Mhm.
But secondly, you will be able to support and help others, because I do feel that that's part of our journey, particularly if we have a family. We're here to support and help the little beings in our lives. And as mothers, we're both mothers, Sarah, we turn up every day. Sanctuary brings you into this place of self-awareness, inner knowing, a place of calm, makes parenting much, much easier than if we're worried, stressing about things.
Yes, definitely. And as you can see, I'm doing this interview in the car because I'm currently in Italy and it's morning here. So I'm thinking if the kids wake up, there is no way there's going to be peace and silence. So I had to escape in my little temporary sanctuary here in the car. But I found it very interesting because for me, I always bring with me my little toolbox, and my toolbox has got things in it that make me feel calm, that grounds me, that even if I'm not awake yet, I haven't had my coffee or whatever we think we need to be okay, um, I can always draw on my toolbox and be exactly fine. So for me, it's a deep breath, first of all, a deep breath, and like reconnect with this body and makes me feel in my sanctuary. But then, of course, I've got here, you can't see it, but I've got my oils. I've got my oils, and I smell them and I wear them. And then I've got see, in the car, even for this interview, I brought my cards, and I've got a little crystal. um so this is my basic tools that come with me. Of course, I'm fine without as well. I just breathe and connect, and but they really make me feel grounded when I touch, smell, and so that is for me. But I wanted to ask you, Helen, is there something in your life, in your practice, in your everyday, I guess, yeah, lifestyle that fits in as a grounding tool? Something that, you know, of course, we can be without anything and still feel in our sanctuary. It's an internal state of heart and mind and feeling. But if you reach for something, like if you need an extra boost, what do you do? You use a crystal or a book, or sometimes I open
Yeah.
a book or
Such a good question, Sarah. I think it actually depends on where I'm at
yeah.
and what's going on for me at the time. At the moment, though, so the thing I've started doing this meditation morning and night, and I've always been a meditator, and I've always meditated morning and night for a very long time. And yes, I have a lot of esoteric tools as an elemental space clearer. I've got all sorts of tools, whether it's crystals or sound tools, gongs, drum, all sorts of things that I use. But as you've already kind of said with your special little toolkit, because I call it the sanctuary toolkit as well, it's like, what can be in there? Like, shove it all in when the things are going great, so that when things are not going great, you've got a lot of things to call on, whether that is a physical crystal or whether that's some kind of practice. And so at the moment, I'm doing this practice because I do a lot of connecting in with source. Every morning and night, I do this particular meditation, which is a grounding meditation,
Mhm.
but it's also a healing meditation for Earth and for me. So, what I'm essentially doing is grounding myself right into the core of the Earth and doing healing on her and on me at the same time. So then, often I'll do that and then I'll fall asleep in the evenings. And then I'll wake up, and that's the first thing I do once I've got a little bit of awareness, once I've moved out of that liminal space. And I'll do that meditation as well. And what I find is it's kind of like top and tail, like bookends, first thing in the morning, last thing at night. And I'm really connecting deeply. There's, lots of meditations that you can do, but this one in particular is quite a shamanic one, which, well, this probably isn't the place to share it really, but it really grounds me right in. But then I've got that constant flow of energy between me
Mm.
and Earth. And by doing that, it, interestingly, by doing all these practices, and I know that you would probably say the same, but what I find is that, headaches are going or gone, body stiffness is going or gone. Some of those little niggling issues that you think, oh, that's a bit of a pain to have that thing, they're going or gone. And it's because of this grounding. It's really, I find it even more vital. And I know we talk about grounding, anyone in the spiritual field talks about grounding a lot, whether it's going out on the earth or walking, at the ocean or whatever. But I really think it's finding the tool, the strategy, the approach that works for you. At
Mhm.
the moment, even though I'm in Brisbane, it's not a terribly cold winter, but it's winter. And when I wake, I don't really want to go and stand outside barefoot on the cold grass. It doesn't feel very pleasant to me. So, but in summer, that's actually a really nice thing to do. So at the moment, I'm doing this meditation and it's actually really beautiful. The great thing is, I don't need any physicalness of a toolkit. Like, it's just a strategy that I use. And I know everyone talks about, oh, you need to get into meditation. You actually don't need to get into meditation. You just need to get into the thing that will bring you back to you. It can be anything. It can be dancing,
Yeah.
singing,
Yeah.
anything.
I guess it's all about connection. Is that connection back to you, to yourself? Now, I talk about physical tools because I'm a bit sleepy and I thought, come with me, come with me. I really had a, physical need to feel something until I,
Mm.
I have my coffee later on. Um, so Italian. Um, but um, I've been by myself with the kids during a tough lockdown early on in the year, like for about 3 months here. And I know now around the world there are other places that are in this in that similar situation, including Australia, New Zealand, and I really feel it, and I really feel for my friends. But there have been times when in that particular situation it was easy to let the mind go into crazy places, and so we with the kids we would put on the music and actually dance in the kitchen and just be crazy, just to shake it all out
I love
and,
it. That's amazing.
yeah, and just be and shake our bodies and hug, and we've got all sorts of instrumental like music instruments at home, and not that anyone is a Mozart, but we all whatever as we can. Yeah, so as you say, it's of course, yeah, a practice, whatever feels good, to
Mm,
go back into that connection. Sometimes just a breath, taking a breath and taking a moment. And yeah, I love the simplicity of things. We don't need to have many things or spend a million and then magically we'll feel connected. It starts
exactly.
from us. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean the challenge, the trick is to come back to that, because we often go, oh, I'm too busy, or I'm in lockdown with the kids and it's a really stressful time. It's easy to kind of, I don't know, be a bit negative about it. It's actually harder to go, I'm going to show up in a way that feels good. One thing I did during lockdown, which is a little bit crazy, was that I went a little bit crazy with my clothes and what I was wearing every day. So I literally got dressed every single day in a way that would help shift my energy. And yes, that's one of my sanctuary languages, is creativity. And so I took a friend to kind of go, Helen, you do know you use your clothes in a creative way. Because often when we think of creativity, we think of painting or, drawing or some kind of art with our hands. Um, but you can actively make a choice to live a sanctuary-filled life, but you have to work on it. It's like
Yeah,
anything. If I want to run a marathon, I have to work on it.
yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Um, yeah, maybe, sorry, I'm getting distracted by the cars. Like everybody's like,
That's all right. That's cool.
what the name is. It's so beautiful. Anyway, I was just gonna ask you, Helen, I know you've got clients and we have a little this amount of time. So I wanted to ask you for a final question. Um, and I think you covered it before because it was going to be on tips and tricks to bring sanctuary in our lives. But is there something else that you really feel people need right now in this crazy energy, to bring peace and calm and,
Mm,
their lives?
that's a good question. I literally just got back from lunch with a lady, and she's such a beautiful lady. And I think a word a lot of women use is guilt.
Mm.
And that word came up, a little bit in our conversation. And for me, it's not necessarily the word guilt. It's, and this is the name of my course, is welcome home. So what if you were to not do that, not get in that spiral? Because that's okay. I've been there. I've done that. It's probably, I want to say normal, but it was, but it's not anymore for me, because I want to welcome myself home. I want to come back into my own truth. I want to know who Helen is, how she's going to show up, what she's meant to be in the world. And so if you can do anything, maybe even if it's just, so I ran this welcome home, an 8-week sanctuary immersion recently. It's coming up again in October and November this year. But one of the things we did every day in that course that I asked the ladies to do was to wake up and say, welcome home.
Oh my God. Gives me
And
chills.
so I know. So I would wake up, and because this is the thing, Sarah, is I'm doing the work as well as, facilitating the experience or sharing the knowledge around sanctuary. And so, anyone listening to this, they can wake up or they can look at themselves in the mirror, because often that's probably the best place to start, is to look at yourself in the mirror and say, welcome home, Helen. And it'll feel really weird, but keep it up anyway. And during the day, if things start to happen that you think, oh, welcome home, Helen. It's bringing you back to you. It's bringing your energy back to you. It's stopping any of those energy vampire suckers taking stuff off you, particularly if you identify as an empath or a highly sensitive person. Bring your energy back into you. Welcome yourself home. Bring your energy back into you. You will be surprised what happens.
This is
In a
really
good way.
this is really profound. My skin, my body is feeling it. So thank you, Helen, because I'm gonna do that too. And I found, trying and learning the most crazy things that most often are the simple practices that really make a difference, because we tend to actually do them and stick with them, whether the things
Yeah.
are too complicated. You do it once, you do it twice, and like, oh my goodness, I can't do this all my life. But a good welcome home in the morning, I think I'll start to implement that. Thank you so much.
Good. You're
Yeah.
welcome. Let me know how you go with it, like in a couple of
Yeah.
weeks. Let me know if there's a change or anything with you.
I will. So thank you so much, Helen, for sharing your wisdom with our Alchemista family. We so appreciate you, your friendship, your support, your amazingness. Your work is beautiful. And I'm really, I don't know if this is the right word, but I'm really proud of all the people that go back to their home and start listening and make a little step to bring more of that in their own lives and helping others as a consequence, a natural side effect. So really, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. You would have heard my dog, who's obviously given us a little welcome.
Yes.
I'll say welcome home, goodbye at the end of this conversation.
Thank you so much, Alan.
You're
Bye.
welcome.
Bye.
Bye.